Jose.
I got involved with peace over violence because I had first-hand experience at using their services.
This quote is alarming to me on several levels. Namely, because Jess was not living full-time in LA, the only place that this organization is based out of, until she started dating Jamie Bauer. This is the topic I would like to address in today's video. Keep in mind that what I am about to present is theory, speculation, and opinion. I am in no way stating that any of this is factual information. Okay, good. Now, if you go back to that iconic women interview, you can hear Jess ramble on and on about a certificate she got to volunteer at a domestic violence organization called Peace Over Violence, which is only based in the Los Angeles area. There are several things that I find interesting about her statements in relation to this certificate, as well as the timing of the certificate. It ties into what I was saying in my last video about an alleged incident that may or may not have taken place at YSL in 2023. Now, in my opinion and the opinion of many others, Jamie seemed quite nervous and possibly even irritated during his appearance at this show. Jess is routinely pushed behind him or ignored in several clips that people have found, and he's smoking like a chimney. I suppose it is all open to interpretation as to how he looks, if he seems tense or not, but the fact of the matter is that after this show, YSL cut ties with him and Jess and they were not invited back. It seems to me that Jamie, who had a professional relationship with YSL for years, would not have been the one to cause the problem here. It could have only been Jess, in my opinion. This is, however, further supported by the fact that her last public appearance with him at an event was this show in January of 2023, and shortly after, she stopped attending conventions with him as well. Something I'm sure was Jamie's doing, and not Jess's, because her entire image on social media relied heavily on using him for content and being his very public girlfriend. There was then a period of time where Jamie was traveling alone everywhere and not discussing her much, whether it be at conventions or interviews, and people were beginning to think that something happened. In my opinion, what I think happened is that whatever Jess probably did at YSL was worthy of Jamie wanting to break up with her. In the midst of these breakup rumors, out of nowhere, Jess suddenly posts this certificate for volunteering with Peace Over Violence and makes a way bigger deal out of it than it actually is. She said on the Instagram post, and I quote,
"I am honored to share that after a lot of studying, classes and homework, I am now a fully trained and qualified violence prevention specialist with the most incredible non-profit organization."
This is a gross misrepresentation of what she actually got a certificate to do. She makes herself out to sound like she took actual long college-level courses to become a counselor. The reality isn't that simple, nor is it even close to accurate. If you look at what it says on the certificate she posted herself, it shows, clear as day, that she took a 45-hour training course, which is less than 2 days of training. Nowhere in this country are you some qualified expert in counseling or even a specialist in domestic violence after less than 2 days of training. So we can already deduce that she couldn't have possibly done a lot of homework or coursework if the class is less than 2 days. And that's just a fact based on what is stated on the certificate that she is holding. But I digress. The interesting thing here is that this subject of her volunteer work for Peace Over Violence did not come up again, for any reason, until 6 months later when she needed to talk about how great she was in an interview for her longtime friend Miriam, also known as Miss Skin. It is in that interview where she says that she had first-hand experience using the services of Peace Over Violence, which implies that she used their services in reference to something to do with Jamie Bauer. From this, it is theorized and speculated, but not absolute fact, that possibly to prevent Jamie from breaking up with her when this YSL incident happened, she told Jamie that if he left her, she would tell people he was abusive, and she sought out this organization to make sure she had some proof if he tried to call her bluff. After this interview went public, Jess made her Instagram private for a number of months, though there was no real reason given as to why, since she kept posting the same things she usually posted, and by the time Jamie's birthday was approaching that year, she went public again. She continued to remain silent on this domestic violence issue once more for months, then suddenly picked up on reposting things from Peace Over Violence and other similar organizations to spread awareness of SA and DV in America, posting them like clockwork, which led for some fans to speculate that she was implying that Jamie was abusive to her without her saying outright. Even weirder, she was especially vocal about the Diddy trials and how unfair they were, lashing out and talking about his abuse while at the same time continuing to follow Diddy. As of the making of this video, she still follows him, as you can see for yourself, so it makes me question how serious she is about this subject and how much of it is just performative. Whatever happened here, it seems like Jess wants to imply Jamie was abusive without saying it, but her inconsistent stories don't line up. I could go over and over with this again and again, and I even explained on my blog why her narrative of Jamie being abusive doesn't make sense, that is, if she's trying to do that. The only conclusion that we can draw here, or the most reasonable one, is that Jess saying that she used Peace Over Violence and had first-hand experience with their services is because of something Jamie did. That is the implication, at least, because she was never dating anyone else in LA when she claims to have used their services. Now, Peace Over Violence is an organization that specializes in helping women escape their abusive partners, helps them leave safely and get protection. If Jamie really were abusive and she really did need to use their services, as she directly stated in that interview, then why did she stay with Jamie? They wouldn't have told her to stay and work it out with him, they'd have helped her to leave. Which further implies that Jess was never abused by Jamie, but she's holding this abuse card in her back pocket in order to threaten Jamie and say, "If you leave me, I will tell people you were abusive." This all does seem to line up, considering that there was some incident earlier in 2023 that obviously split them up and caused Jamie to distance himself from Jess. What that incident was is anyone's guess, but it appears to have happened during YSL 2023. Given all of this information, and the fact that Jess willingly follows Diddy, who she's actively speaking out against by posting this sort of thing, plus everything else mentioned here that is backed by significant proof, what are we to believe? Did Jamie actually abuse her? The answer is more than likely no. The answer is more than likely that she's posting these things to imply she was abused. The answer is more than likely that she's going to come out with an abuse story about Jamie. The answer is that Jess is probably gearing up to get back at Jamie for leaving her by saying that he was abusive with the intent to destroy his career, and she's been plotting this since all the way back in October of 2023, or maybe even before, when they had their odds split around the time of YSL. Am I saying that this absolutely will happen? No, I am saying that, given the evidence and behavior from Jess herself, this is what it is all starting to look like. If she does come out in the future and make these accusations, just consider the source and consider the fact that someone else said this in a video first, predicting that it would happen, and why. There's two sides to every story, and even though I can only speculate on my end, and nothing is set in stone, it's pretty obvious to me and anyone else monitoring this situation that something strange is going on here, right?